Welcome, everybody. I'm Catherine Alman MacDonagh, the CEO and founder of the Legal Lean Sigma Institute. And I'm here with my teammate, Audrey Rubin, who is a member of the Legal Lean Sigma team, as well as some other teams, as well as having her own practice. And today we are going to share what Audrey and I did together, which is create a new way of employing process improvement and project management, and also a little bit of design thinking in something we call the legal workout to enhance efficiency and client relationships with no trade-offs. Everyone wins, which is our favorite kind of equation, right, Audrey?
You bet, absolutely.
So, Audrey, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, but one of the things that I love for everybody to know is that Audrey's really had a 360-degree view around the law. So Audrey, if you wouldn't mind starting with a little bit of your background, that would be great.
Sure. Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, everybody, for being interested in this topic that really gets me going. If I sound excited, it's because I am. I'm a former general counsel of a few companies. Before that, I was a partner in a law firm. So, I was an associate at a law firm, too. But I left kind of the practice of law to go into legal operations about 20 years ago. It was still an emerging field. It is now, as you know, a hot field. So I was pretty early in legal operations. And that's why Catherine says I have a 360-degree view, because I've been the client as a general counsel, and I was also chief operating officer of the global law department of Aon Corporation. And in that role, I was responsible for all law firm pricing and hiring pretty much around the world. So we did a lot of things. I was responsible for the law department's global budget, which is somewhat where this comes in, and process improvement. I handled everything other than practicing law anymore when I was in the law department at Aon. So I also teach at the University of Illinois, and I know Catherine teaches law school too. I teach at the law school, the changing business of law. So I'm really hyped up about legal operations and treating law in a more business-like fashion.
Thanks, Audrey. So without further ado, let's jump into what you did at Aon. And, before we start sharing screens and getting into, kind of into the details of what we did, can you talk about the conditions that existed that led you to want to focus on efficiency in the first place?
Sure. Well, like everybody, I'm running the operations of this global law department, and we want our people to be happy. We want our people to be efficient. We want to pay our law firms. We know that they are in it to make some money as well, and we respect their work. And when I started hearing kind of complaints almost in the hallway, if you will, about, oh my goodness, this law firm, I have to send the bill back again. It's still not right. Or from one of the lawyers reviewing the bills, oh my goodness, this is just taking me too long, and that law firm still doesn't get it. I remember I was called once by one of my senior lawyers in my department. She was so frustrated about trying to tell the partner at the law firm what he had to do in order for her to get the bill processed, that we actually called a meeting with him. It was an incredible kind of waste of time, to be perfectly honest. And so that was one thing. Other things, as you pay attention to what everybody's doing, what your teams are doing, you start noticing things like this person getting very upset because the documents and the screen scraping and the phone scraping in response to a subpoena are just taking too long. And one of the litigators will say, why is it taking the IT department so long to scrape? And the law firm will say, oh, you better hurry up. You know, we have a discovery deadline or whatever. And so in all of these instances, we want to keep our people engaged. We want to have them doing the most productive work that they can, not wasting time reviewing bills or checking where the discovery process is. And we also want to reduce risk. Because just like the hospitals, you know, every time there's a handoff, you invite some risk. And every time there's a handoff in work between the client and the law firm, you have to be sure those gaps are covered. Every time you want something done in your law firm or in your corporate legal department, you want to be sure it's actually getting done in the way and within the time you want. So having done some work with Catherine, having earned a white or yellow belt, I started to realize there are internal little processes that can really ruin somebody's day. And so we decided to take a look at those.
Well, those of you who have taken a certification course will probably remember me saying at some point or another that when you take talented people and you put them in a broken process, the process is going to win the majority of the time. And also that process improvement is an excellent forum for pent up grievances. So, you know, usually if people are, you know, kind of mumbling or outright complaining, it's for a reason, and it's usually related to process. So hearing what Audrey was experiencing, I had kind of been working on collecting, you know, kind of mishmash of different methodologies and tools that I thought might work well in a, not just in a legal environment, but with a cross-functional, diverse team that really wanted to tackle something quickly and directly, because while certainly the DMAIC framework of define, measure, analyze, improve, control is tried and true, and I do recommend it, particularly for larger projects, I was getting fascinated with what design thinking could bring. And so combining the structure of process improvement and project management and combining it with the idea of sort of a hackathon style was really appealing to me. Because my background is as a corporate counsel, and I've had that that fun task of managing outside counsel, and but also having served as a director of business development inside of several firms, I had the voice of the client plus that eye on opportunity. How could we connect with our clients and work with them and add value to them and show by our behavior that we are their business partner, that it isn't just some language we include in our, you know, marketing materials on our websites and our responses to RFPs. And that's what firms that are remaining highly competitive are doing now. They are not just talking about it, they are showing how they are all in with their clients and are working with them to help them be more efficient. And that is in almost every request for proposal, request for information. There's some language about not only what is the law firm doing, tell us what the law firm's doing, but how will you help us be better? So I started to get very intrigued with this, and Audrey was gracious enough to let me make my case. And once we had, you know, kind of worked through the logistics, we approached her. She had 4 primary outside counsel, 4 law firms that were on, you know, the priority list, and we approached the first one and then the second one, and we did legal workouts with 2 of these firms. So today, Audrey's going to share the results, like what we did and what happened when we worked with one of those firms. And hopefully it'll give you some ideas about what the kind of work that you could be doing, both internally, but also with your clients as well. So With that being said, we're gonna kind of dive right in and tell you this thing is called the legal workout, and it's named the legal workout because the whole idea is that we're going to get in a room together, whether it's now it could be virtual, but at the time it was in person, and we're going to get a cross-functional, diverse team to work collaboratively in a very accelerated fashion to improve things that Audrey was hearing about, all those mumblings about the subpoena process, the billing process, and she picked two others as well, and she'll tell you about this. So the idea, and those of us who have been at this for a while, which I presume is everybody who's joined us for this program, is that we know it can take a very long time in legal to make your case, to get some action, to reach a decision. Some might say it's one of the longest sales cycles there is, but once we've got a decision, yes, you can do a project, or yes, you can try this. There's a strong desire for it to be, started and completed yesterday. So the idea of this is to take the ideas that people had, because they do this work every day or very often. They already have some ideas about what they'd like to change, and convert those into actionable ideas that can be implemented within 30 to 90 days. So what the legal workout does is it really taps into the know-how of the people that are closest to where the work is being done. It's a very different way of working. Most people have not worked on a cross-functional team before. So we'll talk about, how Audrey picked the people to participate in this 1-day workshop. It started out with a 1-day workshop, and then we had another iteration. So now it's 2 days in workshops, one to kick things off and one to kind of regroup and ensure some accountability. But it's a really, really effective approach. So Audrey, do you want to talk about the 4 processes that you selected, and give some examples about what made the teams cross-functional and diverse?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And I'd also like to add that if I were back running a law firm, I've also been chief operating officer of 2 law firms. And I reached out to a client to say, let's collaborate on making whatever process it is more effective, more efficient, reducing risk. Or if I were a law firm and I put that in an RFP response, that I have done some process improvement and I happy to do it with you, potential client, that law firm will get my business almost without even asking, because this is so effective. And by the way, for those of you who work in a law firm and might hear, well, if we're more efficient, we don't bill as many hours, I'm here to tell you that the work increases, not decreases. So don't buy into this. We're not going to make as much revenue or profit, because that's the exact opposite of handling these and going through these programs. Okay, so we selected 4 processes. One was the one I told you about, the billing process. And by the way, that law firm was almost fired, because if a partner and the team can't get the bills right so that we can't budget and pay the bill in the year in which the work was done, you as a great law firm might be out of here. So, that's just kind of how important this is. We picked the billing process to make it more efficient and save time and get everybody paid within my budget year. We picked the litigation e-discovery process. And that's because, as I mentioned before, a lot of people touch e-discovery, both at the law firm and in the corporation. And we noticed there was delay, and we had to ask for continuances. Outside counsel for us had to ask for continuances, and sometimes that just dragged down the litigation. Sometimes things, were lost in the interim. Not lost in terms of not being able to produce them, but you kind of forget. Oh, I saw that thing 3 months ago. Now I want to discuss it. So it reduced risk. And then we picked the subpoena process for a very similar reason. When a subpoena would come into my company, it would go to a paralegal to record, receipt of, then the paralegal would send it to a lawyer, maybe the head of litigation, then the head of litigation might send it to another lawyer, and somebody would send it to outside counsel, and then outside counsel would talk to us and put together a team. And before we even started collecting a response of documents to the subpoena, we had already spent hours and hours. And then collecting the materials very similar to e-discovery, and responding, and who's going to respond, and who's going to challenge this part of the subpoena, and how are you going to challenge it. We thought that there was some room for improvement, and getting the law firm and us to collaborate more effectively in that process. So those were the ones we picked. We picked, as Catherine said, the legal workout is really, you make gains by the end of the first day. It's just amazing. We had partners who thought, oh, really, do I have to do this? Who by lunchtime were standing up and saying, before you go to lunch, everybody, I want you to know this is the most effective thing I ever heard of. I'm so sorry we haven't done this earlier. Cross-functional teams are along the following lines. For the billing problems, we had the head of billing for my company, my law department. We had one of the billers, not the head of billing, but the biller who handled the Aon matters come. We had the billing partner come. And we had a lawyer or two from Aon who reviewed the bills and hired the law firm come. So you can already see you're having different perspectives, and you will not be surprised when I tell you that the biller from the law firm had not met the partner who was the billing partner. That's obvious, right? They don't work in the same building. They don't work on the same floor. The partner sends things through the partner's administrative assistant who deals with the billing department and the bill. But people hadn't even met.
When you say biller, you're meaning the person in the law firm's finance department.
Yes, in the billing department or the finance department.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for correcting. So just by meeting, these people were able to start collaborating in a more effective way. The same thing happened. We picked M&A too. I don't want to overlook that. It's important. Most of us think that the M&A due diligence process is pretty straightforward. You get questions, you have an outline, and you start doing the due diligence. When we looked at it and thought about it, we realized, well, you know what? Maybe there is some room for improvement. Here's an example. Lawyer at client calls law firm and says, we want to do this due diligence. Let's go. After a week, a lawyer at law firm says, I hope you're finding out about fill in the blank. Lawyer at law firm says, oh, I thought you were doing that, corporate lawyer. So right away, you have a delay and a gap. Or the corporate lawyer calls the partner to handle the due diligence. The corporate lawyer at the law firm, brings in an associate to help. In-house lawyer has a question, doesn't know which associate to call, wasn't even necessarily informed that this associate is on the team. So these are processes that can be improved once you look at who's doing what. Again, we had a partner, a billing partner often. We had the person who actually is in the billing department of the law firm and the client. We had a person who handled the discovery and the subpoena responses. That was a tech person who really was critical to the role, and so on and so forth. And the results were incredible.
So we're going to reveal some of the results for the e-discovery, subpoena, and M&A, and then we'll do a little bit deeper dive in the billing process. I do have to say a word about when you get people together who A, have never even met before, and B, you're introducing client-firm relationship, and C, you have partners with administrative professionals. There can be sort of, it's not level playing field when you first start out. So a significant part of the work that we bring to the table is to level set and create a team environment. And so the tools of process improvement and project management combined with strong facilitation and designing the program and designing the exercises that allow for people to contribute without so much deference to the positions that people have in their organization, to be able to kind of create that level playing field. This is a vital piece of what makes the legal workout so effective, because you're not going to be able to contribute to a team if you don't feel like you really belong there. So we talk a lot about diversity, equity, inclusion, accessibility. We maintain very strongly that the legal workout is a way of supporting DEIA kinds of initiatives, because by definition, it provides the platform and the opportunities to contribute in a way where they're actually able to lend their talents and skills to something that's really important. So let's look at some of these results for the first three, and then we'll get into the billing. So let's start with the e-discovery. And so just to give you a picture, all four of these cross-functional diverse teams are working at different tables in the same room. So there's a lot of really good kind of energy that's going on. And the way that we've constructed the workshop is that when we have multiple teams, there's report outs and there's sharing. So this is part of what creates a culture of continuous improvement and builds into the relationship. This is how we're going to have our conversations going forward. So right off the bat, it begins to be transformational, and people see that using the same tool produces really different results, but is highly effective no matter what the topic or focus is of the work. So let's talk about the e-discovery team first. What happened there, Audrey?
Well, once you get the people who actually work on these matters together in a focused way, because we're doing this with process improvement tools, we realize that there are gaps that nobody knew about. So in this example, we went through the process using Legal Lean Sigma Institute tools and training that we had spent, a half an hour or an hour on, mapping what was going on. And we realized that there was a delay when the subpoenas went to the tech people, both at Aon and in the law firm. And the tech people did their thing. And then when they were done, they sent it back to the lawyers handling this e-discovery. But things were often getting kind of lost in translation, if you will. By bringing this team together, including the IT people from both the law firm and from the client, in this case, Aon, we were able to identify the gaps. And then one of the IT people came up with a phenomenal solution. He said, you know what? Why don't we open up a portal so that everybody working on this discovery can real time see what stage the discovery is in? So, for example, Client, you don't have to worry that the law firm hasn't received everything, because you're going to see what the law firm has received. And this portal, by the way, already existed for other purposes. So it wasn't even, you weren't even investing in new technology. You were just positioning the technology you already had in a constructive way. And working with the IT people and the lawyers, including a paraprofessional who had handled a lot of the subpoena, e-discovery responses, we were able to avoid gaps in the e-discovery production, understand real time what was happening, look at things. The IT people didn't necessarily realize maybe we wanted to see things even though you weren't completely done. You're scraping the screen of 3 executives. Well, maybe we don't need to wait for all 3 to be done. Maybe we'd like to see what you've got already. The IT people didn't necessarily know that. So we brought them in. We brought them into the tent. And as a result, we got phenomenal results. And the IT people really were appreciative. They wanted to help the law department, and they were able to understand our challenges as well.
Thanks, Audrey. So let's continue our happy story of better, faster, cheaper. Look at the subpoena process. What was going on there?
Well, this was a similar situation where when we studied the process, we realized that things were sitting, I'll say, euphemistically, on people's desks, and not because people weren't working. They were working very, very hard. But we needed some order in what was happening. We needed to be sure it was happening in a timely fashion without handoff gaps. This is, again, a handoff situation from a paralegal to lawyer to other lawyers who might be able to find documents, to business people to turn over documents. There are a lot of steps here. And when we studied it, we were able to come up with an improved system that decreased the subpoena response time by 44%. And we did this in one day. Now, you don't think that improves the legal position you're taking when you can actually see what's out there in a half of the time, and you're collecting the documents in a more efficient manner. So that was a true win, again, at no extra cost. We just had to see what was happening and fix it.
Great. Let's touch on the M&A process as well. We got better, faster, cheaper here too, and happier clients is always good.
The M&A process was great. And this is an example of a group of people who didn't really think they needed to improve anything. We're doing a deal. I call a law firm calls me, and we go through this deal. When we studied it again in one day, we realized that there were in fact frustrations in the communications and the sharing of information over periods of days and hours. As a result, we wound up paying like all of the bills instead of writing time off, because that was you doubled up here, you did what I was doing, nobody handled this. So the law firm actually got paid as much or more in a faster way. We got embedded with the law firm. The law firm now understood who to call, how we work. We understood who to call and how they're working. The team itself, not Catherine or I, figured out a way to review where they're at in the M&A process for a deal in a regular way. They developed almost templates to see where they were every week. They set up a team meeting every week for 15 minutes to check in, and they did this all themselves, so that all of that waste and kind of wondering what's happening out there in the world of the lawyers was eliminated.
So what we do when we're in the room together is we do timed exercises, including things that Audrey's alluding to, like a problem and opportunity statement, a business case, basic project charter elements that you've seen in a white or yellow belt certification course. We do some pretty high level process mapping, which is always, in the words of participants, eye-opening. And we get people to take a guess about how many steps there are. And they later realize that they have woefully underestimated the number of steps. And as Audrey's suggested, that those handoffs, which, wherever there's a handoff, we're going to see one or more of Lean's 8 kinds of waste, those downtime kinds of waste: defects, overproduction, waiting, non-utilized talent, transportation, inventory, motion, extra processing steps. So it becomes very easy for the team to share their experiences, and turn all of those mumbling and griping kind of pain points into something that is useful. And so we facilitate these exercises for the better part of a day, and then there's a stopping point, and the team develops recommendations, and those recommendations get presented to decision makers who come into the room, and they see the work that the team has produced. So all of the exercises are designed to produce a specific deliverable that gets pulled into the presentation to the decision makers. So give them the benefit, bring them along with in our thinking, present the recommendations, and the team gets a go, no go decision on their recommendations right then and there. So the idea of the workout is to get the work out of the process same or next day. So it's very empowering, very much designed to support that Lean Sigma principle number 5, align and empower employees. If you just give people a chance to contribute, they will come up with all kinds of great ideas, like the IT person that says, oh, this thing is already developed. It works well over here. We could try this over here. We get the go, no go decisions that same or next day, and the teams start to pilot these things, and they implement, and they're recording what happened. And so in about a month's time, 30 to 45 days, we come back together and we have report outs. So it's very much like a project management after action review. What we got permission to do. So this is what we planned, what actually happened, and what are we going to continue to do? And then where are we going to build on this to either sustain it or continue to get more improvement? So we're setting the stage for that continuous improvement culture. And a great example of this was the billing team. They really enjoyed the work and got such fantastic results so quickly that they wound up having a longer term plan for continuing to produce some pretty extraordinary results. So for example, to Audrey's point, when we started to do some back of the napkin calculations, we realized this is a really significant problem. So we took the billing professionals on both sides, client side and law firm side, and we asked them for some specific numbers about the number of invoices getting rejected for any reason. And we set a project goal of reducing those rejected invoices by 25%. We thought that would be a pretty significant improvement. So what you can see is that we had year 1 and 2 as kind of our benchmark. We were able to very quickly realize a 43% reduction in the number of invoices rejected very, very quickly. So those of you who are in law firms, can you imagine how much that would impact your bottom line if you were able to get a 43% more of your invoices approved in full the first time that they're submitted? That is significant. That's not getting any additional work. It's not adding any resources. In fact, it's saving resources because you're getting it done right the first time. But the real power is in understanding why invoices were getting rejected in the first place. The lawyers really didn't know. So who do you think is looking at these things very closely? It's the people in finance and the people who were on the billing team. They could tell us. So we asked them, and they told us one of the main culprits, one of the reasons we have to send these bills back is there's wrong timekeeper set up. I'm just going to ask you to consider how it appears to a client that you have sold on the idea that you can handle their most sophisticated work if you cannot get the right timekeeper set up in your bills. I'm just telling you, it doesn't really instill confidence. It might not be a deal breaker at first, but you heard Audrey say this, one of these firms was actually in jeopardy of losing their business. And we know, I mean, I'm not huge on scare tactics, but you have clients in your portfolio that they're there right now. So go look to where you have write-offs, go look to where you have write-downs. Those are great opportunities to bring something like this to the table for the clients that you really care about keeping. So our goal here, we just thought this was plain old silly that this mistake was being made. So we had a 50% reduction. And we used years 1 and 2 as our baseline to see, how many of these invoices were being rejected. You can see just by focusing on this and helping people understand the importance of getting this correct the first time, we were able to achieve a 72% reduction. And again, this is all done very quickly. This is not years of implementation and software rollout, and this is just educating people and getting the behavior to change. And people will change the way they're doing things once they understand why they're being asked to do things a certain way.
Catherine, I'd like to add to this for those of you, well, really in a law firm or a client, but it's nobody's fault here. It's the way our systems work until we understand. So in the case of getting invoices submitted without rejection, the billing partners at the law firm honestly did not understand the flow of the bills. So for example, at Aon, we required the paraprofessional or the lawyer working on the bill to be identified as in terms of diversity. Well, the partners, you would forget that. 5 months later, a new associate is added. They forgot that. The people in the law firm's finance department kind of either knew about it or didn't know what to do about it, how to fill it in. And so these bills were getting rejected. And in some cases, actually, the billing partner, I'll never forget this, said, "I thought you wanted to delay paying us, Aon, because, it's money in your pocket." And we said, no. We want to pay you quickly so we know what we're spending. We have budgets. We don't want to hold your money. So can you imagine collecting a minimum of 50% faster when the partners themselves understood what they had to do, which took, a half a second?
Exactly. I mean, when you're in-house, being able to demonstrate that you can manage your resources and manage your budget and that you're not tying up money that could be allocated to other projects. I mean, what a lot of people don't understand is unspent money in a budget. Say I have $100,000 that's unspent in Q1 that's been budgeted, it gets swept up and used for other things. So by the time I get your bill in Q2 or Q4, that money's, I don't have it anymore sometimes. You know, that's just how businesses operate. Things shift around a little bit. So getting these right is very important. So another area, just to give you another quick example, is wrong matter identification. Same kind of idea as wrong timekeeper setup, but able to achieve a 56% reduction in that, like literally cutting it in more than half, getting an almost 50% reduction in the total dollar value of rejected invoices. In other words, go take a look, go talk to your finance people. If you're in finance, go take a look at the total dollar value that has been rejected by your clients over a month, a quarter, a year, or 2 years. And then imagine you were able to get 50% of that back. Again, this is not doing additional work. It is not using any additional resources. It's actually getting paid more fully for the effort that's already been made and taxing resources significantly less. So, you know, we're all concerned about the war for talent, and employee satisfaction is just as important as client satisfaction. These are the things that make a difference for sure. What I loved about the billing example, especially, is not only that the results are extraordinary, but that the law firm got to say, listen, you guys, one of our problems is you come back to us in many days later after we've already performed the work, and you're asking for clarification around what a line item means. And so it would help us, you have a 2-step review process. It would help us if you could expedite that review, because it takes us longer to research what we actually did and get back to you with some clarifications or explanations. So the law department said, not only is that good for you, it's good for us too. So again, with no trade-offs, everybody was able to get something that they really, really needed. And as I mentioned, this team continued to work together. And if you can imagine that for every employee that was part of this process, they saved 100 hours of time right after the first year. That's what we mean by, you know, freeing people up to do higher value work and reducing their frustration and showing them that we care about them. We hear you. It's usually a process problem, so we're gonna dig in and work on it. So I love this one because we completely solved this problem. When you have 100% reduction, you know, now you've got a 6 Sigma process, which delights me. It's a really, really excellent result in taking care of our recidivist timekeepers. Once people understand why they're being asked to do something, they'll usually comply. They're usually happy to do it the way you want them to do. So we hope that you'll think about using the legal workout for all sorts of reasons. You know, I'm in the business of building high performing, higher functioning teams. And for me, I mean, the metrics are compelling enough, but I'm here to tell you, one of my favorite things is just watching people evolve from being physically uncomfortable to everybody's working collaboratively. There's such energy in the room. There's camaraderie in the room. We're in it together. There's true partnership that comes from tapping into this expertise and giving people a space to contribute in a really productive way. So I love scenarios where everyone wins and no one loses. It's really extraordinary. So I certainly love winning awards, but I love even more when clients win awards. Audrey and I got to present to a panel of judges at the Process Excellence Network Awards. And we were the first from legal to ever win an award from the operational excellence at the OpEx conference. And I certainly hope we will not be the last. We want to inspire other people to do this kind of work because it's really extraordinary. And for sure, I don't think it hurt Audrey's standing within Aon to have her general counsel and the whole team on stage accepting an ACC Value Champion award. So that's super fun too. But it's a really, really great program, and it allowed for some really terrific exposure, some good PR for Audrey and her team, and also for the outside counsel. You know, these are the kinds of examples they're now able to talk about what they did with some of their other clients. So it truly is everybody wins, nobody loses, and not only do you get that efficiency, you get those really fantastic relationships as well. So I'm going to stop screen sharing and ask Audrey to share. You know, do you have is there a moment that sort of stands out in the legal workout, either while we were in the room in either workshop, or you know, that somebody might have said to you or shared with you outside of the room that just is kind of the thing that
There's a couple of them. One was, as you know, we broke up into teams to study and handle certain processes. And after the workshop, I called one of the lawyers who had been on one of the teams, and I said, "Now, how can we help? You know, pursue what your plans are?" And he said, "Audrey, I am so excited that you brought me into this. I now feel that I understand process improvement. I understand project management. I can keep going. I feel like I'm a business person." And that was just music to my ears. In fact, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it because a lot of times lawyers don't understand the business aspects of what we do. And for him to say, "Thank you for teaching me, I now feel energized and equipped," was really a great plus.
Thanks, Audrey. I hope this gives everybody a little bit of a case of the Me Too's. And Audrey, I want to thank you for sharing the work that was done at Aon and some of the results. If we can be helpful to you in making the case for doing this work, and also for doing this work, because now Audrey is actually making legal workouts happen all across the globe. So if we can be helpful in terms of serving as resources to you at any point, I hope you'll reach out to us. Thanks for joining us for today's program, and we look forward to seeing you soon. If you have not had an opportunity to earn a yellow belt, the next chance to do so will start the first week of May. So visit us at legalleansigma.com to register and get more information. Audrey, thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And thanks everybody for joining.
Thank you both.
Bye-bye.